Honestly, I thought Houston would have been first. Just Hockey Show. I'm the Trev. It's still too sweet. But anyway, it's officially official. I'm not late to the punch on this. I was waiting for the official word, like I do with most things. After what's been an interesting 2 week span, from just being shown renderings of a new arena proposal just outside the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, to the Scottsdale mayor saying he's not on board with the idea, just to change his mind a day late and $1 short. But, well, to get into the time frames of everything here, but the Arizona Coyotes are officially on the move to Salt Lake City, Utah. Let's talk about it. So really, we could essentially say this will be one of the last videos Trev's going to make about the Arizona Coyotes for a bit. If they ever get to the point where they become a defunct team and not just an inactive team, then you can guarantee you'll find a video about that there. But there's a story behind all this, if you haven't heard yet. Let's get into the process of breaking it down. So essentially, the deal goes something like this. The NHL buys the Phoenix Coyotes, or at least the hockey operations side of the Phoenix Coyotes. Not the name, not the branding, not the colors, not the history. Just the hockey aspect of it. The NHL buys that from Alex Morello. We made a video on him once. I'll talk about that. For $1 billion. And then sells it to Ryan Smith, the guy that owns the Utah Jazz of the NBA. They sell it to him for $1.2 billion. Now, the $1 billion is basically the cost of the franchise at an exaggerated rate. If you remember, Morello bought the team for just over 425, I think it was, million. And got $1 billion for it when they're not even worth $1 billion. I think Forbes priced them at $650 million. So he made bank on that one. Now, this really does feel like it happened quick, but if you think about it in retrospect, and this is by all reports, the NHL and Ryan Smith have been talking for the better part of 2 years, whether or not it was expansion or relocation. And now it's happening. And there's a lot of factors that go into this, and a lot of it falls entirely on Alex Morello, but we'll talk about that too. Now, as part of the deal, Alex Morello has a 5-year window with a land auction coming up June 27th, which was the same land auction they're going to bid on for a new home for the Coyotes. He has 5 years to win that auction, build an arena, and then still have the possibility of bringing an expansion team back to Phoenix with the history of the Arizona/Phoenix/Winnipeg Jets. That history stays in Arizona. So essentially, the team going to Salt Lake is like an expansion. If you remember how it happened with the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns of the NFL, that's essentially what's happening. Arizona is going dormant or inactive. Not defunct, just inactive. Now, my immediate thought to this whole deal is it's about time. And I don't mean that to sound cold or unsympathetic to the situation. I don't know what it's like. Well, I kind of do. I used to cheer for a team that did relocate, that being the Supersonics. But the whole process to go from one owner to the next might have only took 2 weeks. This has been going on since at least 2008. Back when they were still the Phoenix Coyotes. And that was about the time it was discovered when the Coyotes were suffering huge, massive losses even financially, to the point where the NHL was footing a lot of their bills, if not all their bills. And one could even say the problems with the Coyotes began in 1996, when the original Winnipeg Jets announced their relocation to Phoenix. If popular rumor is to be believed, The Coyotes have never been profitable since day one in the desert, but, you know, unfavorable lease conditions could really play a huge hand in that, but I digress. But then again, of course, the main, most immediate reason is lack of a long-term arena, and thanks largely in part to being evicted from Gila River Arena for, of all things, not paying the rent or the staff, or even near the end, the hotel bills. So that, by all stretch and means, can play a huge point of disaster for any franchise, not just the Arizona Coyotes. The alternative option being, of course, that they would have played at least the next 3 up to 5 years in Mullet Arena, and having already played 2 seasons in a less than NHL capacity arena. I mean, they only sat 4,600 as a sellout, which they achieved multiple times. That's not exactly ideal for some kind of a club that belongs in the NHL. I mean, they're not the best league in the league, or the best league in the world, sorry, for no reason. And to be playing in a 4,600 capacity arena, that's just embarrassing. And it's not to say that the Coyotes, for their part, didn't have ideas, or at least renderings, much like this Tempe arena, which we talked about. You can find the link up there, which ultimately failed. And I think that's really when everybody knew time was up. And then 3 weeks, not even a month ago, we got this rendering for the arena just outside Phoenix / Scottsdale. But that really seemed to be all we ever got, was renderings. We didn't get a firm this happening, that's happening. We got the land bid, which was never a guarantee. And then you got to see it from the NHL's perspective. You know, they've gone to bat for this franchise for the better part of 16 years. You know, doing what they can to keep them in Arizona, and more than convinced that the Arizona market is a key market that they can explore. But for whatever reason, the Coyotes were never given the firm end of the stick. They were never like, oh, you've got the stability. They're always the question mark every time. And rightfully so, the NHL said, no, we can't afford another chance. So when it got to the point of they were making 2 separate schedules, one for if the Coyotes stayed in Arizona, or 2 if they went to Utah. Well, I guess we're going to see the latter schedule now. You kind of had to know. They knew Arizona was not going to be a long-term fit, at least not without more time. And I think that's where the idea of keeping the franchise as inactive comes in. More so also just because, you know, for Morello's sake, who for an owner didn't even show up to his team's last game. Just saying. It's to give them that time to figure out the arena situation, if there's going to be an arena situation. I mean, one's got to think, is Morello that serious about wanting a team, or does the NHL even want Morello back as an owner in their league? Do they still want to explore the Arizona thing, but not with Morello? So if they're smart, they'll wait 6 years instead of the 5. Just saying. Now, as for the Utah, whatever they're going to be, it's confirmed it's going to be Utah, but understandably so. The sale only just happened. They probably haven't even thought of a new name yet. They'll be playing at the Delta Center, which is a temporary thing, as a new arena in downtown Salt Lake City is under consideration and probably going to get the approval. Unfortunately, much like the New York Islanders when they moved into the Barclays Center, this arena isn't built for hockey. It's not a hybrid arena. It has basketball sightlines. So while they might renovate for the now, I think 14.6 was what they were saying, until they get that new arena, and being there in consideration, or at least in strong favorite, to host the 2034 Winter Olympics, which means new arena, it's probably going to happen. They'll probably make that new arena for the Jazz and whatever they're going to be named. Apparently, rumor is it might not even be this season or this coming season that they're named, but one would hope they at least have some kind of an identity other than Utah NHL Club or Utah Hockey Club or anything like that. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, I'm sure. So between the ownership side of things, which was a gong show and even included the NHL owning them for the better part of 2 years, the names that went through the ownership shoes, the financial issues that came with the team apparently since day one, the arena issues which never got solved. Ultimately, this move has to be best for the franchise, and maybe it's better that the history stays in Arizona and they just start this new team from scratch with what might remain from the crop of Arizona players they bought with the team. And ultimately, that while they're not treating this as a relocation, this is the second time the club has moved now, and this ultimately isn't a new thing in the NHL. The last team that moved a second time moved from Colorado to New Jersey, and they've been pretty successful on the Rock. It took them a little bit to get there, but they got there. So if patience is the key and it'll work in Utah, great. And yeah, for the fans of the team, for the fans that came to support them the 2 years they played in Mullet Arena, it's gotta suck. It's gotta be a hard pill to swallow. I mean, from not selling out Glendale to selling out Mullet Arena to, hey, we're gone now. See you later. But if they do find their way back, whether it's with Morello or somebody else, and hopefully it's not with Morello, anybody that can secure an arena plan that works for all parties involved and can make, payments seriously and on time, lest they think that the NHL still definitely wants to find its way back into the Arizona market. They strongly believe in it. And if it's in the right hands, if it's under the right owner, it'll work. I mean, you look at Vegas, they've worked well in the desert. And that's because they have strong ownership and, a strong contending team. You think about it, the Coyotes have never spent to the cap. They've spent to make sure they reach the cap floor. So hopefully a competitive team comes out of whatever team happens to play in Utah. So far up to date, the Board of Governors have approved the sale. In June, they're supposed to approve the move, and I can't see why they say, no, don't do it. I mean, everything's in place. It looks like the franchise is at least secure in a different place, and they don't have to worry about, writing as many support checks as they have been for the last 16 years. But inevitably, it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when, and the fact that it happened as quickly as it did. Again, it's been a while in the making. It's been the last 2 years, but everything just kind of went, here it is in the last 2 weeks, and they officially announced it today. And that's why I didn't make it in this video along with everybody else when they're just talking about it. I wanted to wait for the official word. And as mentioned, they probably don't have a nickname, a jersey, or a color set ready, but when they do, know that I'll be there to react to it. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what kind of a name they come up with. I know there's lots of different possibilities that have been floated out onto the interwebs, but I kind of have my own idea what I think they should do, but I'm not a soothsayer. I'm not going to be like, hey, this is what they're going to do, because I don't know. But either way, it'd be interesting to see what they come up with when they come up with it. So that's not much as hockey shows. I've been waiting a while to make this video, a lot longer than a year or two. I will say that much. But I want to thank you for tuning in. Don't think I don't appreciate the gesture. And know that when I'm knocking on the Coyotes, I'm not knocking them because I don't like them. I'm knocking them because I'm just happy this is over with. Like I said, it's been going on for a long time, and hopefully this is the point where we just walk behind it and be like, okay, We're done with this headache. We have 32 markets that are willing to succeed, not 31 and one that's just clinging on to life support. But if the Coyotes do come back, as I've said time and time again throughout this video, hopefully not with Morello. Hopefully with somebody who actually gives a damn. But we'll see when we get there, right? But if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet and you want to, you know that red button's there. It'll make you feel good. It'll make me feel good. So if you want to do it up, do it up. I'm all for it. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up. I got 2 more trophy awards to do, and then I have my playoff predictions to start with. So I got 4 videos coming down the pipe between now and Saturday, so look out for those. Either way, in the meantime, and between time, look for more videos from Trev. Later.